I've invented what I like to call the teleportation spell. Here's how it works. You drop down 4 TNT in a pressure plate, and then you count to 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You throw your ender pearl, 7 of course. The spell is complete, and we've teleported. Each of these ticks is about 5 meters apart, probably 1 to 200 meters.
So, you guys want to know how real men teleport in Minecraft, huh? Do ya? Now you might be asking yourself, what happens when you throw the ender pearl with a full cannon blast? So I had to fly towards its landing spot in order to actually see where it landed. Boom! 513 meters. I bet you can't do that with your grandma's cannon, can't ya?
Hello guys and welcome back to Minecraft. Today I want to show you my ender pearl cannon. So at first we have to load in TNT here, walk in here, aim at the iron bar, hold down right click and we missed the target.
Hi folks, I'm Adam, and for today's video I'll be demonstrating a few ways in which an ender pearl cannon can be improved with the 1.5 snapshots. For starters, I can both load and manually set the strength of this cannon just by placing TNT carts in this chest. At the same time as the carts are launched, the fence gate will be withdrawn. Right, let's give this thing a go. Did you see that rocket away? We're at roughly 0-0 at the moment, so let's see how far this thing takes us. Aha, here we go. Over 200 blocks with a single ender pearl. However, there's no need to stop here. I've filled up the entire loading chest with TNT carts to see just how far it would take me, and the 27 NA managed to take me over 2,000 blocks away. Unfortunately, by that point the ender pearl is entering unloaded chunks, and won't teleport you until you move closer to it and load the chunks. For distances that great, you'd probably need to be running some form of mod, or be on a very busy server or something like that. But still, the technology's there, and now it's even easier to use.
There need to be a 5 by 5 field of chunks loaded around a chunk, so that it actually does certain tasks. So now what is different in the black and yellow chunks, which are loaded but don't behave like the normal loaded chunks? The only one which is interesting for us at the moment is that entities don't get processed in these chunks. Items won't despawn, mobs won't move, or in general, entities won't move.
So first off, look at my coordinates, specifically the Z coordinate, 225. So, without further ado, I'm going to show you my super ender cannon. Okay, that's done. Press this button. And we will wait momentarily, and hopefully this goes to plan. Fantastic, it did. Lovely. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to the portal. 6,000 blocks. We just travelled 6,000 blocks. Ender pearl cannons have long since had a bit of an issue. Once they hit unloaded chunks, they will stop working until you actually approach it, so it kind of loses its purpose. How have I solved this? Well, it's very obvious. I've used chunk loaders. So what happens when I press this button? Basically, this gigantic field is loaded. So it's about 9 chunks across and 700 blocks that way. So why does it need to be that wide? So you might be wondering, why not just make it 1 wide? Well, because of such the large distance, that 700 blocks, the ender pearl will actually not go in a straight line.
Today, I want to show you a very quick tip for how to make your dispensers fire projectiles much farther than they normally do. And you can see it here. Here it is with splash potions of harming, firing it right at those creepers. Here it is with flaming arrows. Bam. Works with snowballs. Basically any kind of projectile. It works almost exactly the same. set up the redstone the same.
Today I have for you a very compact and simple enderpearl launcher that will help you travel 75 blocks, which is 50% further than a normal enderpearl throw. This fantastic creation was made by Redditor Shesmare and is not a new concept, however it uses the new slime block features added in a recent snapshot, making it more practical to use than alternative designs which use TNT.
Hello, XCOM here. This is going to be the last video in this series about the Pearl Cannon. I'll just go through the history, and I thought it was fitting to start right here in the nether hub of SciCraft. And I will fly to the nether perimeter that you've probably seen in Mango's video, where we have Palace Quarry running there right now. And before Palace Quarry was running there, there was a bunch of egg dropping that I did on this perimeter. And then this is actually the whole reason why the whole cannon started. You can see I'm traveling there right now, and it takes forever to get here. And I wanted to get here a little bit faster. I mean, look at this. It takes... Yeah, I don't have time for this. I wanted to just get into Pearl Cannon and just be here in like a couple of seconds. But that's where this whole thing started. I'll just switch worlds and I'll start explaining in creative what happened next. Here is creative. This is SciCraft creative. So on this very spot, this is where I just logged into. I thought I'm just going to cook up some Pearl Cannon in 10 minutes. It's going to probably be some small little task. And then I thought to myself, this is not going to be the best cannon. It's just going to take me about 1,000 blocks. I'm pretty sure that it's kind of be doable. And then I thought maybe there was a way to make the Pearl cannons more accurate, because I saw SimplySarc's video, and I thought maybe I can imitate something that he's built using duped cannon and duped TNT instead of the minecarts. And I thought that was going to be some easy task, and maybe I should just look into how pearls work. So the first thing I thought is to use some kind of a snap aim, so you can sort of aim more accurately. And that's the reason that pearl cannons are inaccurate. I thought the aim was the main cause of the issue, because aim isn't exactly true in Minecraft. And then I was like, maybe there is a way to get around this aim, because if you look straight up, you can actually, maybe open your F3 screen, you can see that this number over here is looking straight up, and then that makes things accurate. So I was standing right here on this platform, looking straight up, going like, okay, throwing the pearl, but then the pearl was just traveling towards the side. And then the pearl was just traveling a little bit sideways, and I started using snowballs. To my amazement, none of these snowballs actually traveled in a straight line, straight up and back down again. And that's when things got scary for me, because somewhere in the code there must have been some kind of a randomness, and I thought it was a glitch. Maybe there was a visual glitch, and then I had to start looking into the code, and that's where I started looking into the MCP code. So let's jump over to MCP. So this is MCP. This is where I've pretty much figured out a couple other things, especially ghost block mining. This is the machine that I used for ghost block mining, and I thought it was going to be a fitting place to just figure out a simple thing about pearls. And the first thing you do when you want to figure out pearls is to first tracking down exactly what line of code that causes this pearl behavior. And I tracked it down to this class called entity throwable. And to my horrific discovery, I found these 3 lines of code. Gaussian randomness causing all kinds of havoc and random behaviors on the pearls. And that was pretty much going to be the thing. I was going to go like, okay, how the hell am I going to get around this? And then I was thinking, maybe there is still a way. Maybe there is a way to get Pearl to at least travel 1,000 blocks. So I was starting to create some kind of a model where I wanted to build like a spherical area. So I was thinking, in this spot, somewhere around this block over here, that's where the Pearl is going to be. So the first thought that went to my head was, okay, I can get the Pearl to at least stay in this particular area, in this particular sphere. Because when you're throwing the Pearl upwards, at some point it's going to arch. And it's going to be somewhere in the sky. And wherever that location is in this area, let's say it's somewhere around this block, is going to be somewhere that is close to the TNT. Maybe I can make a predictable model and blow up the TNT far enough from the Pearl. Let's say the TNT could be a little bit further away from the source block. If you blow up the block of like the Pearl over here, and the TNT is over here, I mean, it's kind of accurate, right? You could probably get away with 1,000 blocks semi-reliably, and you can jump load an area in this direction and probably travel 1,000 blocks without any issues. So this is what it looks like when you hard code something. I fixed the Pearl's position. It created this perfect position where the Pearl is located, and when you fix the position of the Pearl, you can start testing how TNT behaves towards the Pearl. Because the first thing I suspected was that the TNT actually causes some kind of a random behavior on the Pearl, and that's not exactly the best thing that can happen. So you want to check if the TNT is influencing the Pearl in a random way, the same way that it randomly blows up some blocks but not others. And I'll just fly over to some other location where I started to test all that stuff out. So here it is. I've placed the Pearl in the approximate location, and this is where I started to try out new TNT mechanics to see if this TNT behavior is actually how I suspect it is. And obviously I placed the TNT too close, so when you actually blow up the TNT, the Pearl is actually hitting it. Let me just adjust the values. There we go, I just adjusted the values slightly. So now, if you place a TNT, it's not exactly where the Pearl is located. An explosion happens next to the Pearl, and I wanted to see if these values are different. And in here, you add some kind of a readout, so you can get some useful readings. And these useful readings gave me enough information to tell me that this Pearl, if it's getting blown up in the same spot, and the TNT is in the same exact spot, the numbers are identical. So that there is no randomness in the behavior of the TNT relative to the Pearl. And the Pearl is perfectly aligned, and the TNT is perfectly aligned, then the Pearl will just travel wherever you want it to go. So there is no randomness in that regard. And that was a good news. That was the first step towards understanding how Pearls behaved. And the next step was to understand how Pearls behaved in general. The problem is basically this Gaussian randomness that we looked at before. If you take a look at how Gaussian distribution works, it basically means that sometimes you have a number that is perfectly in the spot where you want it to be, but there is a chance that the Pearl is going to be in a different spot completely. And if you put, let's say, the TNT over here and the Pearl over here is going to travel in a specific direction, but it also can get like give you a bad number, and then you can just get shot into the areas that you don't want it to go to. So I was thinking if you put the TNT far enough back, maybe you can sort of eliminate some of that randomness. But if you put the TNT too far back, you need a ton more TNT to just get the Pearl to just start flying even a couple of blocks. So I had to get the TNT as close as possible while at the same time estimating the proximate location of the Pearl. So then I thought maybe I shouldn't do something like that. Maybe I should just start studying how slime behavior works. So then I removed the gravity effect of the Pearls, and then you can just do that by commenting out some lines. And the first thing that can happen is like the Pearl starts all of a sudden behaving really funky, where it just travels in a straight line. We can just follow it and see what happens. See, then I looked at the Pearl and it slows down over time. You can just see the acceleration is actually slowing down. Or it's not. Maybe I removed too many lines. Ah, crap. That's not good. Kill it first. Kill it. Okay. I think that pearl just died. Okay. Perfect. Let's try it again. I think I removed... Yeah, these lines of code aren't supposed to be removed. Ah, that's stupid. Okay, let's try it again. Let me just store the pearl, and you can see, let's just follow it. Yeah, it's slowing down really fast. You can see how fast the pearl is, like almost grinding to its complete stop. And it's almost traveling at no speed at all. And this is where I was going, okay, maybe there is a way to keep the pearl in a stable environment without gravity, and it slows down. And then I thought, water does that, because in the code, water slows down the pearl by a significant amount of speed. And I've seen other people use water to slow down the speed of the pearl. And then I thought maybe lava can do that as well, because there is no water in the nether, but there is lava. And obviously lava doesn't affect it. Water does, but lava doesn't affect it. There is no influence from lava to pearls. And then I was back to square one again. How do you slow down a pearl fast enough to get the pearl into a stable position? Because now when it's almost standing perfectly still, I mean, look at it, then you could pretty much blow up a TNT right next to it, like somewhere where I'm standing, and it goes wherever you want it to. So then I thought, maybe I should just push it around with slime and see what happens, because I know that you can push around pearls with slime. And I've seen people bounce the pearl up and down over and over with slime. And then when I pushed the slime, pushed it with the pearl with slime, I saw a really particular thing in the readout, in the momentum. If you scroll up to this line of code, line of readout here, you can see that there is a flat number, really flat 0.90000. These numbers were really accurate, and it stood out a little bit more than it was supposed to, because this number isn't exactly supposed to be this flat. I fiddled around with the code a little bit, moved up some lines, checked the readouts again. Let's just try that again. And there we go. I just pushed it again. Let's stop the game. When I pushed up that specific line of code in another place, I discovered something really interesting. 1.0. This was a really flat number, and you don't get that unless there is something in the code that hard codes the speed. 1.0 is a very, very flat number, and that's where I thought I'd found something. Maybe there is a way to align the pearl using slime. I thought maybe you could just bounce the pearl around in a specific chamber and get the pearl to specific alignment and momentum. Well, at this point I thought I had discovered something amazing. I am the first person to have discovered something really cool like this, and obviously someone has been there before me. Test had already done this, and Eta spoils the whole thing by showing me the video, and I'm like, ah. So at this point I'm really disappointed, because everything has been spoiled to me. But I'm still happy because someone else had already shown me the findings and such, got on pretty much a little bit further than I had. And I quickly built up tests set up over here. One thing that I was going to never be able to figure out on my own, which I'm glad the test actually showed in his video, was this strange detecting system. You could actually detect pearls or entities that aren't detectable using a string. When you send a pearl through this machine, if it goes through the string, it actually detects the pearl. It doesn't do that unless you put an entity inside of it. If you put like a regular detector here and put something to align the player, and you throw the pearl, it goes through the string, and nothing happens. And that's because of a strange bug, and that's because projectiles don't get detected by string. But test figured out if you put another entity within this block, wherever this string is inhabiting, and it doesn't touch the string itself, which is this thing that the boat is doing, then the string actually can detect a projectile as well because of this boat entity inside of it. It can't touch the string, or the string will activate, but if it doesn't touch the string, then the projectile can be detected using the string here. And you can see it happening right here. And the second thing that he discovered that I didn't figure out was that you can actually push the pearl using regular pistons. And that's perfectly fine. And if you squeeze the pearl against another block, let's say a full block that is on this side, then you can actually get the pearl to be not just aligned and against this block, but you can actually eliminate the momentum completely, nullifying it, instead of getting this flat number 1.0. So I went back to MCP, and this is basically MCP, the same world as before. And in this corner, I built up the device that I saw from test. Then I realized that you could actually align it using anvils instead of using chests, because then you can actually get a perfect alignment towards the corner of the block when you're aligning the pearl, because the hitbox of the anvil and the blocks, and then you could actually align it in not just one axis and both axes. So that actually eliminated both the X and Z axes, but then you actually had to predict the Y axis. And then I thought maybe you can push it downwards when it hits the arch, and that's what this block up top was. And it was forth and back trying to figure this contraption out. At some point I got the timings right, and then I figured it completely out. It wasn't perfect. Sometimes the pearl can actually fail. I think I've never shown this in the video. But if you throw the pearl, you can sometimes get stuck inside of the contraption. I think I've never shown this, but sometimes this particular contraption can actually fail. And that happens sometimes. So this contraption was just there to test and see if it's possible to perfectly align the pearl and shoot it upwards. And from that point, I pretty much figured out a way to stabilize the pearl. So I started to attach a bunch of slime, going further up and going, okay, maybe there's a way to dupe TNT and get the pearl in a specific position. And with duped TNT and pearls, you could pretty much take the player to any corner of the world. And because the random behavior has been now completely eliminated out of the pearl, you could actually get the pearl to go exactly where you want it, and it's deterministic. It means nothing is going to be random anymore. You can control the pearl in any way you want. And it was a magical discovery, and I thought, this is it. This is pretty much it. From here on, we can actually go to any corner of the Minecraft universe without any hassle or any randomness. And this was the simplest duper setup with some timing delays. Looks really dinky, but it was the perfect setup to get this test unit working. The first time this happened, I got the TNT in this particular spot, and it was magical. The pearl just went to this particular spot every single time. Nothing was random anymore. And this device was the prototype. And from here, I straight up went back into creative, to SciCraft's creative. So the first thing I do when I jump onto creative, I just build a mock-up of this machine over here. And prior to having attached this thing on top, there was just a single TNT dispenser up top. And the first thing that I test is that I get the cannon to shoot me, and then I land exactly on this spot. Should land between these two pots. And that's what I did. And when I tried it on the server, I was going, okay, that worked on MCP, and now I actually tried it on the creative server as well. And it brings me to the same spot over and over. And from this point on, I just told everyone about that we have just discovered the perfect way to align the pearl, and we just need TNT. Methodzz, obviously the guy that knows everything about TNT cannons, jumps on and says, obviously, we're going to get you as many TNT into that one spot as possible. So the first thing I had was this stinky little TNT alignment, and it was really unreliable. Half the time it blew up, and there was lava all over the place, poured all over the place. And then Eta jumped on, and we started to dupe TNT, and this was a huge requirement. Obviously, if you want to go far, you need a lot of TNT, and dispensing a lot of TNT means you have to craft a bunch of TNT. No one wants to do that. So the first thing I put as a requirement was to just make sure that all the things we're going to basically develop from this point on is duped TNT. And we have to get as much duped TNT into one spot. We started off with a simple device that just duped something like 10 TNT, and from there it just exploded. And you can just see the onslaught of just some of the contraptions that you can see around me. I'm not going to spoil any of it. This is the stuff that I don't want to spoil. All this stuff will be shown to you guys by Eta or Methodzz. Those guys were instrumental in the development of the TNT and getting the TNT into one spot. But what I can show you is this setup over here. So getting the TNT into that one spot was perfect, but getting the TNT into that spot in a reliable way was also another thing. We had to get the TNT in a very specific spot, and I started to look into, with the help of Eta and the whole server, to get the TNT into the spot and get it perfectly aligned. And after the alignment was done, I wanted to improve the system to align it as well, and something like this came to be. And this is the latest version, and this is what you saw in the video. A perfect way to instantly update the TNT system up top and get the pearl to be perfectly flat aligned against this glass block in a very specific spot, so that it is actually shooting the pearl in a straight line. And this was the perfect creation for getting the perfect TNT and a pearl and a perfect alignment, and updating the whole system so that you could get more and more and more TNT into one spot to go further and further. This is where I will leave you guys. After this, everything that will basically show up is either in Methodzz or Eta's channel. They're going to show you guys how to basically dupe more TNT and put it into one spot. Not my expertise, and my expertise ends here. If you guys want to check out their channels, there will be some link in the description. And I hope you all enjoy this ride with me. I will try and put a world download for the alignment system and the world that you guys saw in the video. I really hope you guys enjoy this. And if anyone else builds one of these cannons, post a link or a picture. Would love to actually see if anyone else builds one of these. It's obviously the best way to get around to far locations, and it's clearly the coolest thing that I've discovered in the code, and I'm pretty sure there's more stuff lurking in there. So hope you guys enjoy this. Bye.